All questions, if we could leave them to the end, or if they're at the top of your head, just put them into the meeting chat. Again, we'll have a Q&A session at the end of this session, where we'll be able to hopefully answer any of your questions that you have. So a bit about Transparity. If you've not been to one of our webinars before, if you're not a client, we are Microsoft's most accredited UK partner. We have all of the solutions designations that Microsoft has to offer, and we was able to announce this on the day that they were launched. If you aren't aware what a solution designation is, Microsoft over the next 18 months are moving away from gold competencies. I think Microsoft themselves kind of realized that they were a bit too easy to obtain. And for each of the solution designation, you have to go through a rigorous audit, not only on capability, so looking at the Microsoft certifications and advanced specialisms that a partner has, but also has to go out to clients as well to obtain feedback, to understand what the process was like for each of the designation and each of the project, and to ensure that the customer service and the delivery was as Microsoft would expect. So as you can see here, Transparity ourselves, we look at Microsoft security, modern work, digital app and innovation, data AI within Azure infrastructure, and also business applications. So we do touch pretty much the whole of the Microsoft product stack. We're also part of the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association, also known as MISA, which is a small roundtable of collective partners that help Microsoft develop and drive the security product stack. And also one of very few that have the Manage XDR certification. So I think within the UK, we're one of only maybe 3 partners. So again, it's testament to our standing within the Microsoft community. So just a quick agenda for today. So we started a little later than 10 o'clock, but just for some introductions. It's about your organizational needs is where we're going to be kicking off first. We will then be talking about the road to success with SharePoint and the best way of delivering that. Hopefully around 10:40, we'll be launching the Q&A, and hopefully we'll be allowing you all to go back to your normal day job at 10:45. So I'll hand over to Ehab now, who will give himself a little introduction and talk about his expertise within SharePoint, and then we'll get on with the webinar. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Adam. Good morning, all. My name is Ehab. I'm the SharePoint architect within our SharePoint practice. I do anything to do with SharePoint, helping our clients to adopt to the digital workplace. All solutions that relate around SharePoint, which we will talk about some of them today. MS Teams. I'm also active with the Microsoft community online. I post content on my LinkedIn to share insights, updates that help people to know what's going on in the Microsoft world. If you've been following, you see that especially since Ignite and this year, there is a lot going on. So sometimes it's difficult to keep up. I do my best. We all do our best to keep you up to date. I see some familiar names in here with us, so that's great to see. So when we talk about SharePoint solutions of this nature, we would like to approach such technology with the needs that you have, the challenges that you have, rather than being constrained by what the technology can do. And this is how we start the conversation, and that's why we have this slide here. So if we look at the first point, Natalie, if you click that, lovely. So you need to understand the current challenges that you have within your business, and what are the potential competencies and efficiencies that you can introduce to expand and scale up your solution. So for example, do you struggle with sharing your message with your business? Do you over depend on emails, announcements that you make, and people tend to overlook through emails because it's not within the flow they follow to consume their information? Could be you have a culture within your business where you depend on MS Teams, or maybe you are SharePoint based, or maybe intranet based. Regardless of the technology, you have one point of communication. If that's overlooked, you have important messages that are not being shared across your business. So next point, please. We have a common issue with especially legacy and traditional way of managing documents, where you have the same document stored within different locations, different versions. You have people sharing their workflow through their email, through attachments, and you end up with a difficult task for someone or for some department to collate all these updates within one central source of the truth. And this is one of the things that SharePoint and the M365 ecosystem can add value for you. You have also challenges that may relate to your business processes. So, for example, onboarding. Do you have means of dealing with onboarding and getting in your new users easily and efficiently and introduce them to your businesses? So, like they say, first impressions last for a long time. And the first experience your new employees will have with you is the onboarding process. And to be honest with you, I could talk about my own experience with Transparity when I joined a long while back now. I was very impressed with the onboarding process, the documentation, the welcoming. When I joined, there was a setup for me within the intranet, within MS Teams, so I could get up with what people do, what are the departments, what are the services, who do I need to speak to. And I was really impressed with that, and that gave me a positive impression of the organization because how well the onboarding was managed. But it's not exclusive to onboarding. You could have other processes that are relevant to your industry, relevant to your business, but you really don't have the means of delivering that efficiently within your current organization. Now, other challenges that you might have could be the sharing, collaboration, both within your business and externally. And that could be a challenge because that will open up the conversation about security, about how efficient can you work within an ecosystem that allow you to work without having barriers and making it easy for you and for your external partners. So you could have multiple of challenges, and these are some examples. So typically we tend to do workshops, brainstorming, and it's really important for you to have that mindset as well, to sit not only as project stakeholders but also different departments, different levels of people within your business, to brainstorm what's working for them, what are the challenges that they face that affects their role, that affects their department, so you could tailor the discussion and the solution to actually answer what you need. So if we go to the next slide, please. And this is where we start the conversation about technology, share with you what's possible and what can be tailored and customized for your own specific need. And this is where SharePoint excels, because it does have the flexibility for it to be configured and architected in a way that's relevant to you. So it's not a cookie cutter solution. So for example, you could deliver your communication strategy within the SharePoint ecosystem, what people call intranets, how you share news within your business. Can I target the news? For example, we have some clients that have businesses and organizations within them that are based in different geolocation systems, and sometimes you have local news versus international news versus management communications. And if you think about it, if you have one central point to share all of this, people will be overwhelmed. But if you architect your news approach to different audiences within your intranet environment, if we call them that, then you will have effective targeting of communication within your business. Do I look to highlight documents, for example, documents that are important for everyone to see, whether they be in recent or whether they simply just being tagged, this is important, I would like everyone to see. Your policies and procedures. Do I need to keep emailing HR every time I'm looking for something? I think we all agree, both as users and as admin departments, this is the last thing we want. We would like to make a streamlined process, easy to follow, and minimize the need to repeat the same action over and over by email. The ability for you to enable notifications so people get notified within their work, within their modern workplace, about the things that are happening and the latest updates within your communication platform. Things like quick links. These could be big wins. So my leave system, my expenses, other applications that I have that are useful maybe to a specific department or to your staff as a whole. So you have all in one place. So I know this is what I need. This is where I go, and this is how I get it. And also, one of the powerful things that you could have within a communication platform within SharePoint Online is the information pages that you can utilize to deliver your message, to put a narrative around your policies, to put a narrative around your processes, benefits, staff handbooks, etc. All of that will be within one ecosystem, all searchable, all can be tagged, all can be tailored to target specific audiences. And then the other part, if we move from the communication capabilities within SharePoint Online, and we can move into the collaboration, which is more known as the document management. The fact that you have wealth of features within SharePoint for you to have one source of the truth, for you to have the ability to co-author. So probably these are features that some of you have already used within the M365 ecosystem, where you could co-author, comment, review, collaborate on the same document, on the same place, with the ability to have the track of what's been going on that document, reviewing the versions, so you have full visibility on the life cycle of that document. And one of the main advantages when you work within such platform is the ability to scale up. So you have your policies and you say, actually, we would like to add approvals, we would like to add a process behind it. So if we go back to the onboarding example, maybe you would like to expand on how this process works, where when you have a new onboarding, you get pages created, you get IT notified for them to be able to create the account, etc., beforehand. And you could assign different information elements within your intranet or your document management system for that to be shared with your new joiners. All of that is equipped with modern tools that you get from SharePoint Online. So you have the ability to get advanced search. You have the ability to filter easily. So if you work within a file management system, for example, you are probably used to double clicking all the time. But with SharePoint Online, you could do that. But again, you could add tags, you could add filters, and you could add searches that are relevant to that location, where you don't really need to keep clicking all the time, which will save you time. And other aspects within SharePoint Online that can add value for you is the ability to automate things, automate processes. I will not speak in detail about automation during this presentation because this is quite custom. But the point that I would like to share here is you have a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities within SharePoint that allow you to enable simple approvals, notifications, alerts without the need for you to have really a developer to do a complex system for you. But SharePoint Online working with other M365 solutions like Power Automate will give you the ability to build advanced systems within your Microsoft ecosystem that meet the requirements for your processes within the business. So if we go to the next slide, please. If you click one more time. So in this slide, we look at an example of a communication platform, i.e. an intranet. The main advantage that we have now with modern SharePoint and SharePoint Online is the ability for you to tailor, customize, brand, and present your identity, your culture through the intranet. So you're not working with that one. Some people call it dull, some people call it boring. That's fine. I agree with you. Now you have the ability to actually tailor your delivery, so actually it meets what you are trying to say, what you're trying to communicate. So when I go to the intranet, I know this is your organization, I know this is your business, I see familiar faces, I see familiar terms, familiar look and feel, etc. And now, which we will talk about a little towards the end, Microsoft are adding a new update for you to have a modern design center that allows you to have powerful themes that meet your branding, your font, your logo. So you have a design center that allows you to template and theme your intranets. But I will not get too much into that because that's coming in the pipeline. So you have powerful things here like your navigation options, where this experience will be available to your users regardless of where they are within your intranet or within your SharePoint, so they can always go back, see the important links that you provide for them. Like I said earlier, I used the example of leave, expenses, etc. It could be your departments, it could be your site. And one of the powerful features that you have here, you could actually audience target. So in the example where I used regions, maybe you would like to add links that are only relevant for people in the UK, and maybe you add certain things that are only relevant to people in the US or within other geolocations within your business. Important thing here, you don't need to rely on IT for you to take ownership of your communications with your staff as a business. The security setup within SharePoint Online allows you to define roles and responsibilities, let's say for marketing, human resources, or maybe you have a communication department, so they have the ability to take ownership of the content that they communicate through your intranet. And one of the main challenges with legacy systems, really, you always have to go back to IT. They have the things that they need to do. There will be a bottleneck. So you will get delays in the things that you're looking to share and communicate, but also the quality and efficiency may not be optimum because there's always that bottleneck. There are things that you could add here as well, video libraries, rich media, call to action features, and this also gives you the ability not only to communicate outwardly to your staff, but you could also capture feedback from your members. Typically, I see HR post polls, for example. Where would you like the focus for us to be this year? It's about nutrition, finance, etc. So you could have that interaction between you and your staff. If we go to the next slide, please. This is an example of thank you. This is an example of the modern news, and as you've seen in the first image, you have wealth of templates that you could start from. You could have your own custom templates, and by templates I mean you could have a consistent way for you to share your news with certain imageries, certain headlines, certain information about the news item. So for example, in simple terms, this news item has come from the HR department, it's relevant to the UK, etc., etc. And you could use that to audience target where this news goes within your large ecosystem. The whole idea The way we architect and design these solutions is to minimize the manual work you have to do to create content and to administrate it. So if we go to the next image, please, you see it's very simple here. It's as simple as using Microsoft Word. You could add your text, your images within the template that you have. And if we go to the next image, please, with modern news, you could bring all of your news sharing workflow in one place. So you don't have to go to SharePoint to post news on the intranet and then go to your Outlook and email to share separately. You have your workflow for news sharing within one place. I create my news, I could share it with the business, send it by email where people can read an overview and then go back to the intranet. There are different ways of doing it, but the whole idea is you have it in one central location. If we go to the next slide, please. This example is from our demo environment, from our hub, where we automate. I should say, put a process in place for you to share your new joiners process within your intranet, for example. You have someone new joining. If we go to the next image, we have a template. And if you see here, you see saved on the site. This is not out of the box template. It's template built on SharePoint that allows you to have your own template for new joiners. So you could see in the highlighted text, for example, I have the same welcoming message. I plug in the name of the joiner, the department, other details, and then you could add aspects that you expect to add for your new joiners. For example, the responsibility, what they'll be working with, their hobbies, interests, funny facts, etc. And also, you have the ability to say this person is working in the UK, this person is working in HR, etc., etc. You could actually target where this new joiner appears within your intranet pages, with the fact that you create that new joiner entry only once. But because it's architected in a way where we are putting all the information that's relevant to your process, you could display the new joiner within multiple areas within your business. So for example, if I have a HR joiner, the new joiner then will come up within the HR intranet portal, intranet site, and also shows up within the homepage. If we have marketing and new joiners, obviously that's not relevant to be on the HR site. They'll show up within marketing and also show up on the homepage. If we go next, please. So there are considerations that we need to think about when we deal with building a communication platform. Information architecture is key. I will not bore you and talk about technical things, but we need to understand, you need to understand how do we run our business? What are the relevant information that are really meaningful to us? It could be certain terminology you use. It could be certain way that you organize your business beyond the department. It could be responsibilities. It could be certain groups within your business that collaborate together. The more you understand how you do things and the information that's relevant to you, that will be translated into the solution. So actually you could take advantage of this knowledge. And to be honest with you, this kind of information, it's like known knowledge that we have, but maybe we don't have it on paper. We don't have it on a project like template. This is how we do things. We know how we do things because we've been doing it for a long time. But these brainstorming sessions that I mentioned earlier will bring all that to light that can then be translated into the solution. Content ownership is very important. Like you've seen, I haven't shown you everything, but I showed you examples on news authoring, creating content, doing certain processes and bringing them within your communication platform. We need to make clear ownership. Who's responsible for news? Who's responsible to update the links? Who's responsible to update content? And that would determine the longevity of your solution. Ongoing adoption is also another thing. People tend to have the approach, oh, this is a new project, comms goes out, train your existing staff. But then what happens in 3 months' time, 5 months' time? What happens when you have a new technology coming in to your solution? So you need to have a process in mind, whether you could have training libraries. Your adoption should really be part of the onboarding. So when you have a new joiner coming in, this is our intranet, this is what we do, this is how you can use it, this is what you should expect from it. This is how we manage our document. This is our DMS. And this is how we organize things. The more really you integrate this with your onboarding, the less questions you have, and you will ensure people know how you do things within your business. And finally, assessments. And I believe this is very important to have quarterly assessments. Maybe you could have sessions. What's working? What's not working? Get an overview of the new things that are coming to the technologies that you own. And you see, the thing here is these new additions that Microsoft make, you've already paid for them. So you have value that comes as part of your licensing, but maybe you're not aware of what's coming up. So staying up to date, whether with your partner like ourselves, we always ensure that people that we work with are up to date through our comms, through our official LinkedIn pages. But then the fact that you have visibility to these updates, you will start thinking about how you scale up and add new efficiencies within your solution. Yeah, if we go next, please. So this is the document management side of SharePoint. Like I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to co-author, to work together on documents, which is something you probably have been using if you started your M365 journey. If we go to the next one, please. So for example, here we have one of the features that are quite popular. We use often is for us to review the content, collaborate on it, add comments, add tasks, for us to produce a document where everyone is involved. So it's a living document. It evolves. Everyone is involved, rather than, okay, I'm working on this document, save, share. This is actually collaboration going on live for you to produce a document. Obviously, it's more efficient and it's quicker for you to produce your work. Next, please. And the fact that you will be working within the M365 ecosystem, you will have the ability to share one source of the truth. And obviously, I will not delve too much into the configuration aspect on how you do the external sharing, internal sharing. Obviously, there is a security element that you do on a tenant level to dictate how this works. But the idea is you have one source of the truth that you can easily share internally or externally, depend on your situation. And the fact also that you could share this within your other applications. So within MS Teams, for example, and everyone will be working on the same document. If we go next, please. This is an example of a modern document library where you could add additional information beyond the traditional folder-based approach, which you can. It's supported. You can use it if you want. But you could also add additional information. So this document belongs to this department, belongs to this country, etc. And this could be really useful if you have policies, for example. You could add information about them. So you could, if we go to the next image, please, Natalie, you see you have the ability to do quick searches, quick filters to get into the information that you need. But in addition to that, which this is really helpful, instead of me clicking around all the time and going through a nested architecture, this information I could use and leverage on other parts of my intranet. So here, for example, let's say I'm looking at the policies document library, and then I would like to display only the IT policies somewhere within my intranet. Could be within the IT site or sales site, etc. The fact that I have this information, I could leverage it and scale up how I display my information. If we go next, please. I mentioned scalability at the beginning, the fact that you are working with within this ecosystem. You can utilize additional features, build in approvals, whether being simple, light touch, or you could do advanced workflows. And you could see here you have your Power Apps that you could apply with this. Power Apps which allows you to build low-code applications to utilize your information. Power Automate allows you to build advanced automation processes and workflows. And Power BI, it's basically allows you to display charts and data processing for reporting. If we go next, please. One of the main advantages that you have with SharePoint Online and the M365 ecosystem as a whole, the ability for you to integrate everything together. So things are not sitting within their own right and silos. So here I'm integrating my intranet within MS Teams. So you have different cultures within businesses. You have organizations that are teams focused. They like to work within MS Teams, which is absolutely fine. You can bring your SharePoint experience, your intranet experience, and make it available within MS Teams. So all the best practices, all the comms, all your intranet-based information will be made available through MS Teams. If we go to the next image, please. Also, there are additional technologies that you have with M365. For example, Viva Topics, which is really powerful. And what that allows you to do, it gives you the ability to have cards, for example, that puts a narrative and context around certain types of information. So, for example, let's say you have a client, and that client has multiple projects running with you. So you could have different MS teams. Each team is running its own project. You could have SharePoint sites with their documents, briefs, processes. Rightly so, because you need to organize them. You can't have everything in one place. What this allows you to do, if you have it will tell you this client gives you a brief information of them, contacts from that client, the type of relationship and service you offer that client, who are the account managers, who are the project managers, the running projects that you have with this client. If you click next, please. All of that will be put in one context, regardless of where your information and documentation is living within your ecosystem. And this is the advantages really you have from having this kind of technology, given it's, you know what you need, you know what the problems you have, and how this can add value for you. If we go next, please. I realize I have a couple of minutes now. So considerations that you need to have when you work with document management, your internal sharing needs and collaboration versus your external, what data you have that you need to work with internally, and what data you need to work with, share, collaborate externally, and that needs to be reflected on the design that you do. What existing systems that you have within your environment that may have documents. For example, you could have an MS Teams implementation that has documents. How do they collaborate? How do they integrate? What kind of information would go to my DMS, MS Teams, etc.? So all of this would be part of a discovery for your own specific needs. Also, it's a good idea to think about scaling up for the future. So when you build a solution, always think about, okay, so I need to add this information, I need to add my columns, my metadata, etc. So even though I'm not ready now, but I'm in a good position for me to scale up for the future. So this example is the Policies Hub, which is part of our Intranet Hub solution, where it provides you with a central hub to share your guides, your policies to your staff with a narrative around them. So this is an example of how the landing page would look like. You could group based on department or based on function, etc. When you click on that, if you click next, please, you're not simply just getting a document. You are getting an information page with a narrative. So you could think about parental leave, for example, or things that are relevant together. Could be well-being, and you could have the gym memberships benefits, and then the policies, etc. Depends on how you would like to communicate it, all in one place. So if you click next, all of that is powered by SharePoint native technology, like I've shown you earlier. You see here, we've got information and tags that are relevant to that given policy or guide. And also this has automation working in the background. For example, depending on your case, so maybe when you member of your team uploads a policy, that policy needs to be approved by the head of department, for example. Depending on the case, you have days, for example, as well, a life cycle, where you get reminders. Okay, this is the time for you to review this policy. Maybe you update it, or it's good, you tag it, it's reviewed, it's good to be made available for your team. If we go next, I'll be quick. So here we talk about a little bit about the future. If you've been following what Microsoft has been sharing with us through the Ignite, through the official channels, you would know AI is a big deal. Copilot is everywhere, but AI is also integrating with SharePoint. It's going to help you leverage the technology better and add new features to the way you do things within SharePoint. So this is not being launched. This is not available. This is based on what's been communicated to us by Microsoft. So SharePoint Premium is the next big thing that is coming to Microsoft, and it's very useful for organizations that work with large volume of processes and document management. So if we click next, please. So for example, this is one of the additions that you will get with it, which is a Document Hub application that will be available within Microsoft Teams that brings all they call high-value documents that require attention to that specific user, that's relevant to them, relevant to their work, relevant to the tasks they work with. It brings it all in one place within Microsoft Teams. And one of the other additions, if we go next, is the ability for you to author content quickly without you having to do things manually. So this, for example, is a Word document, statement of work, and you see these fields. These fields have AI capabilities driven behind them. So if you choose a client, all of this information will be populated based on the values that you have within your record. So you don't need to type the address every time, type the ID, client number, etc. All of that will be populated, but you could also do much more advanced stuff based on the conditions that you apply for this. And again, if you look at this and compare it back to what I said earlier in the slides, when you get your design right, and when you think of scalability, the new additions that you get from technology you could take advantage of quite quickly. So this kind of stuff, when you have your departments defined, when you have your clients defined, when you have the services defined, and it's all applied within the right places, you could utilize such services quite quickly. Sorry if I've taken a few minutes over time, but this is the last slide that I have for you. Adam?
Apologies, everyone. We've had some slight technical difficulties ever since Teams has decided to update itself for our tenant. So the polls have been coming out a bit slower than usual. But look, the next steps is and trying to wrap this up as quick as possible for people. If you would like a follow-up call with one of our SharePoint consultants or architects to deep dive into the possibilities of SharePoint for your business, obviously the poll hasn't come out completely as it should have done, then please do reach out. Or answering the poll question that's just been posted. I have had a couple of questions come in. One from a guy called Daniel talking about the Modern Design Center. Do we know when this is going to be released? As this is something that we as a company pride ourselves in regarding branding, custom fonts, etc. Yeah. And I know custom fonts is something that is limited when using the web app within SharePoint.
That's right. there isn't a definite day. We are expecting to have this sometime this year, but they haven't set a precise date for this to be launched and made available within all your within the tenants. I feel your pain. So before me getting into the MSP world, I worked for many years in creative agencies. And getting SharePoint to work with the creative people, it's a big challenge, but it gets getting easier and easier. So like yourself, we are anticipating this and waiting for it. But once we know, we will definitely share that on our LinkedIn and our pages, so we have precise date for you.
Just a quick question for me, Hab. How simple is it to kind of set up a SharePoint intranet site, a bit like our hub? And how easy is it for a business to kind of start integrating their documents and other processes into SharePoint?
Okay, it depends. It's so like I said during my presentation, it's not a cookie cutter where you have one solution that would fit all. Depending on the case, you have organizations that could be smaller and they have less features that they would like to deliver. So we could consider that would be an easy implementation. But again, that could scale up. The most important part, regardless of the difficulty, between quotes, is to understand the challenges that you have now. And in majority of cases, it is easy, to your question, Adam, to tailor the technology back to your needs, so you actually have a solution and value that you present to your business and also to your users.
Thank you, Ehab. Just another couple of questions. Are there design web part considerations when the intranet is being surfaced through MS Teams?
Sorry, let me fix my view. Well, the modern SharePoint web parts, they are adaptable, responsive, and you shouldn't have any issues if you are looking to display your SharePoint within Microsoft Teams. However, if you are using third-party or doing your own custom SPFX web parts, that would be a different case, and you would need to consider how you do your CSS and design, but I will not bore the people on this call with technicality. Native web parts, they are responsive and can be scaled within the Microsoft Teams environment.
Awesome, thank you. And how easy is it to take an existing messy SharePoint and add consistent security permissions and standards to the environment?
I hoped you would ask that, Adam, because I saw the question popping up. And believe it or not, this is one of the things that we help organizations with, because you have your license, you paid for it, you have your M365, and you started creating without having that time and discovery that you put in front. The first point that you need to do is kind of start afresh and cover all the things that you missed at the beginning. The advantage you have with so the way we would do it is to start building, like you have a shadow intranet where you build the solution following the best practices, and consider if there are things that need migrating. You could launch that in phases and then decommission the existing setup that you have. I wouldn't follow a misconfigured security that you have within your existing one, and consider how we can improve it. But this is definitely something that we've done for clients. You can build in the back end, get things prepared, improved, ready to be live, and then you switch that. You could do that in phases depending on your timelines and requirement.
I'd assume that would be probably the same, you know, if you're going through maybe a data cleanse or looking at implementing Microsoft Purview, looking at DLP, it's probably going to be a very similar journey where it needs to be thought out ahead and in advance.
Absolutely.
And as you put, Ehab is rolled out in phases, and SharePoint would certainly be one of them phases.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And again, you could also add to what Adam said. If you're referencing document heavy, for example, You also need to run reporting, so you have the visibility. If you have data that are living there from many years ago that are no longer relevant, you could make a business decision on archiving, etc.
Thank you, Ehab. Well, look, guys, I think we'll stop the recording here and kind of end it. If anyone does have